Thank you very much indeed, Presiding Officer, and I move the amendment in my name. Members will be delighted to hear I don't plan to take all of my time this afternoon. I intend to cede some of it to Duncan Dunlop, who will be making his first speech later this afternoon. But in the time that I do have, can I remind the Chamber that debates like this used to be marquee occasions. There were times when the galleries would be full, the press gallery absolutely stuffed, and even the cameras of the world trained on this Parliament, because the question of Scotland's future in the Union was so unpredictable at that point. But there is a muscle memory now, a performative element to debates like this, because a Section 30 will be requested this afternoon, Presiding Officer. A Section 30 will be requested and it will be declined. Why? Because John Swinney manifestly failed in the test that he set himself just a month ago. He said on the 28th of April, and he couldn't have been clearer, I am saying, and I quote this from the Scotsman, I am saying that we need to make sure the SNP get a majority to make sure that we can take forward an independence referendum. Presiding Officer, 59% of the general public, the voting public, disagreed with that assertion and voted for parties in this chamber who did not back a second referendum. It is only because the vagaries of our voting system, the gaming of the system by the parties of independence, that we are now in this situation. I will briefly take an intervention from Ross Greer.
I remember in the last session of this Parliament where we pointed out that the pro-independence parties had won not just a majority of seats but had won a majority of votes, and Mr Cole-Hamilton had to come up with a whole new reason against a mandate for a referendum at that point. So why do the goalposts keep shifting?
Presiding Officer, Ross Greer is celebrated as one of the brightest members of this Parliament, yet basic arithmetic seems to be escaping him. 59% of the public is bigger than 41%. I think he should consult his maths teacher. And as such, because they have failed in this effort, that is now a covenant that the First Minister tried to establish with the people, which must be set aside, because a Section 30 order is not going to build a new hospital in Shetland. 18 months of campaigning around the Constitution is not going to duel the lethal A9 any faster. Identifying offices for embassies and high commissions overseas for a future independent Scotland is going to do nothing to reduce child poverty. And the interminable debates about what currency an independent Scotland would or would not adopt are going to do nothing to instruct an independent review that is so vitally needed for maternity services in the far north of Scotland. In all truth, Presiding Officer, we have never, as a chamber, since the SNP came to power, fully flexed the muscles of devolution, fully flexed one of the most empowered, devolved nations in this world to address the things that all of our constituents have decidedly sent us to Parliament to discuss. On the cost of living emergency, I'll give him his credit, the First Minister did touch on the cost of living emergency. This was a cost of living election, but nothing about 18 months of debate around the Constitution is going to make people's homes warmer by instructing that emergency programme of home insulation that we need. It's not going to address the crisis in our social care system, which is keeping 2,000 Scots in hospital who neither need nor want to be there but can't get home for want of a social care package. It's not going to lift up education, and it's not going to... I don't have time. And it's not going to...
You do have time.
OK. I'll take an intervention from
Nick. Oh.
For giving way. One of the fundamental challenges we face in social care is the recruitment and retention of workforce. And that is a particular conspicuous challenge in our Highlands and rural communities. Is that not a convincing argument for powers over immigration to be devolved to this Parliament?
I do not disagree with Mr Arthur that Brexit's been a disaster for social care, but it would be a lot easier to fix social care if his government paid people more to work in it, or gave them key worker housing that addressed the shortage of housing in the Highlands and Islands that he discussed. So he's got a nerve to raise that with him. And we need to get Scotland moving again, Presiding Officer. Just last week, this nation was embarrassed when the technology of the 19th century came to the aid of passengers of the 21st century, because the Clyde paddle steamer, the Waverley, had to rescue passengers because of a CalMac vessel broken down. This This is a microcosm of the inadequacies of this SNP government. Taking time for parliamentary debates like this does nothing to serve our constituents. No wonder they do not have the attention or the trust in this parliament that they used to, because they just don't believe that they can deliver for it.